In 1987, PSV sold their talisman Ruud Gullit to AC Milan for a world record transfer fee of 18 million Dutch guilders or £6 million. The physical embodiment of the Dutch total football philosophy, Gullit's complete skill set meant you could put him anywhere on the pitch and he would excel. You could probably stick him in goals and the big man would still do a job for you. The main thing that PSV would be losing though was his otherworldly creativity and productivity. In 75 appearances in all competitions for PSV, Gullit scored 53 goals and assisted 26. One player alone would not be enough to replace the influence of the towering colossus Gullit in the team. So PSV took their £6 million and used it to bring in striker Wim Kieft from Bordeaux, Danish midfielder Soren Lerby from Monaco, and left-sided forward Hans Hilhuis from Den Bosch. Unlike the other two, who were in the evening of their careers and would end their playing days at PSV, Hilhuis was 23 and just beginning to make a name for himself. He had caught the attention of PSV with his goal-scoring exploits over the previous 2 seasons for Den Bosch, netting a combined 33 goals. At PSV, Hilhuis hit the ground running and made sure that his new team did not miss the presence of Gullit as much as they could have. In his first 10 Eredivisie matches, Hilhuis scored 10 and assisted 5. He impressed with his pace, passing, movement in the box and clinical finishing. Highlights of those opening 10 matches included a brace and assist in a thumping 9-0 hammering of Utrecht.
En nog eens Gerrits. Hilhuis scoort. Hilhuis, Arnissen. Ja, Arnissen. Heeft hem inderdaad op Koeman. Hilhuis, 5-0.
A goal and an assist in a statement victory over Ajax.
Hilhuis, Menzo moet snel terug. Hilhuis, langs blind, Hilhuis, 2-0. Dat is wel meteen raar.
And a hat-trick against FC Volendam.
10 minuten gespeeld ruim. En daar is Hilhuis. Hilhuis dan. En nog eens Hilhuis. Nu Vanenburg. Vrij veld voor Hans Hilhuis. Doelpunt.
Although Hilhuis's output dropped slightly after that, he played a key role in helping PSV to win the league that season, 9 points ahead of Ajax, finishing with 15 goals and 9 assists in the Eredivisie. That was the third year on the bounce that PSV had been crowned champions of the Netherlands, in what was a remarkable period of domestic dominance for the side from Eindhoven, and they weren't done yet. In the Dutch Cup, Hilhuis chipped in with a vital contribution in the semi-finals, scoring his side's first goal to make it 2-1 against RKC Waalwijk, waking his team up and sparking a rousing comeback as they went on to win 3-2. The final against Roda JC was also a thriller. PSV, as you might expect, dominated the ball and created the best chances from the first whistle. Roda posed the occasional threat on the counter though, and after 22 minutes, Huub Schmitz headed the opener from a corner against the run of play. Roda came close to doubling their lead on the stroke of half-time, but were denied by some excellent keeping from Hans van Breukelen. In the second half, Erik Gerrits equalised for PSV within 10 minutes of the restart.
Gerrits, die is vrij. Erik Gerrits, hij dan, ja!
12 minutes later and Roda, who always looked dangerous on the break, were back in front as Raymond Schmitz capitalised on a defensive mix-up.
Weggestuurd door Suverijn. En dat zou moeten zijn.
The drama did not let up at all, and a few minutes later, PSV were awarded a penalty, much to the fury of the Roda players. In the ensuing stramash, Hansen got himself sent off for dissent. When Ronald Koeman was finally able to take his spot kick, he fired his low shot against the upright.
Ronald Koeman. Op de paal!
Just when it looked like the 10 men of Roda were going to hang on, see the game out, secure a famous underdog victory, and win the Dutch Cup for the first time in their history, Gerrits popped up again in the 86th minute to send the game to extra time.
Koeman, Gerrits, die staat erin. Nou. Weer Erik Gerrits.
Soren Lerby smashed in the winner on the 92nd minute to seal victory for PSV.
Overwinning op Roda. André van der Lauw reikt de KNVB-beker uit aan Erik Gerrits. That's good.
10 days later, Hillhouse and his team had the chance to make history by winning the European Cup and becoming the second Dutch team to win the treble after Ajax in 1972. Hillhouse had been a key player on PSV's stunning run to the final. He scored the opener in the first leg of the 3-0 first round victory over Galatasaray. An important goal, as PSV would narrowly go through 3-2 on aggregate. He netted in both legs of the last 16 against Rapid Vienna.
Und völlig frei und das muss.
Hillhouse missed the first leg of the semis against Real Madrid, a match that ended 1-1, but he started the return leg. It was a tense game with few clear-cut chances, the best of which fell to Butragueño after some scintillating build-up play, but the Real legend could only lift his effort over the bar from yards out. You would have bet both your legs on the Vulture burying that, but he fluffed his lines and PSV went through to the final on away goals. The showpiece against Benfica was hardly a classic. Defences were on top and there was a disappointing dearth of goal-mouth action. The match was goalless after 90 minutes and so went the extra time. Hillhouse was taken off with just over 10 minutes left to play. His effort and work rate that night can't be faulted. He gave everything for his team and left it all out there. The only small criticism would be the quality of his end product. What it meant though was that he didn't have to take a penalty. The shootout was extremely tense and the spot kicks were all of high quality. It was to be Benfica's Veloso who was the first one to make a mistake, with PSV winning 6-5. It cannot be said that this was the wrong result. Over the course of the 120 minutes, PSV were in control and created the best chances, and I think the right team definitely won. So, in his first season at PSV, Hans Hillhouse had conquered Europe and won everything that was on offer. Naturally, perhaps, some of the fire had been extinguished from his belly. When the European Cup was won, a little bit of the hunger was maybe gone. We were never at the same level after that, Hillhouse would later admit. And that loss of appetite is reflected in his output in his sophomore season, which dipped substantially, managing just 7 goals and 6 assists in the league. Nevertheless, PSV retained their title, narrowly beating Ajax by 3 points. That Hillhouse's goals were not missed by PSV was due to another factor which likely contributed to the forward's loss of form: the arrival of the little Brazilian genius Romario.
A little small Brazilian of Romario came in and he kind of took my place. So I wasn't having much playing time.
Of Hillhouse's 34 league appearances in the 88-89 season, 11 came as a substitute, compared to just 3 appearances from the bench the season prior. One of the great disappointments of Hillhouse's career occurred that season, as PSV lost in the final of the Intercontinental Cup 6-7 on penalties to Nacional.
Losing that Club World Cup with PSV, that was a big disappointment.
Going into the 89-90 campaign, Hillhouse's third season with the club, the situation got worse. The arrival of Danish forward Flemming Poulsen pushed Hillhouse further down the pecking order, limiting his playing time even more. At the age of 26 and about to enter his prime footballing years, Hillhouse was in no mood to be warming the bench, so he was keen to move on to pastures new. Luckily, there was a team in the northeast of Scotland who were in need of reinforcements up top and were ready to offer Hillhouse a way out. It had been 3 years since Alex Ferguson had left Aberdeen for Manchester United. While they hadn't been able to add to the success of his tenure in the form of more silverware in the years following his departure, they were still one of the major forces in Scottish football. The previous season, the Dons had finished second in the league and came second in the League Cup, losing 3-2 to Rangers in the final. The managerial double act of Alex Smith and Jockey Scott realised that an over-reliance on the magnificent Charlie Nicholas for goals was holding them back. In search of more firepower, the duo went to the Netherlands to watch Hans Hillhouse in action. After the match, the two managers spoke with the forward about football in Scotland and their plans for Aberdeen. Although Hillhouse's interest was piqued, he was not yet fully convinced, so he got on the blower to an old acquaintance, Theo Snelders. Snelders had made over 200 appearances for FC Twente, but had been at Aberdeen for a year at this point, and waxed lyrical to Hillhouse about the city, the fans, and the distinctly Dutch brand of football that that was being peddled at Pittodrie. Additionally, there was a real buzz about the place because in October, Aberdeen had just beaten Rangers 2-1 in the 89-90 League Cup final. Hillhouse was sold, so he packed his bags and swapped Eindhoven for the Granite City on the 13th of November 1989 for a fee of 1.8 million Dutch guilders, roughly £650,000. This was a huge transfer fee at the time and made Hillhouse the club's record signing. It was fortuitous that the Dons had been expeditious in their business, as had they waited any longer, then the deal might have fallen through. On the 20th of November, Flemming Paulsen picked up an injury which was to rule him out for 2 months. If Aberdeen had hung about just an extra week, then Hillhouse surely would have stayed put to step in for the stricken Danishman. As it was, they got their man, and news of his capture was met with shock. A recent European Cup winner and full Dutch international? Wow, what a signing. And he lived up to that billing and then some with a scintillating debut against Dunfermline.
Irvin getting up well. Hillhouse! A spectacular start for the Dutchman.
That was just an instinct that the ball was just a bit behind you and you think, okay, let's go for it. It's something I've never done before, and it's your debut, and I think it was within 10 or 15 minutes or so in the game. So to go from not playing for a while, it was a big relief. But for me personally, if you start like that, the adjustments just go very quick.
Dream start for the young man from Holland. Up goes Irvin. Hillhouse is there again. It's unbelievable. 16 minutes gone.
It was difficult for me to adjust to the other players because they play long time together, and I'm just brand new here. And Charlie helped me throughout the game perfectly.
Yes, he looked a very, very good player indeed. In fact, he looked a bargain buy.
Hillhouse had a dream debut, but was it just a flash in the pan, or would lightning strike twice? The following week, on his home debut against Rangers, Hillhouse had the chance to show his new supporters that he was not just a one, or more accurately, two-hit wonder.
Hillhouse scores! 3 very fine goals. We've seen him scoring in Scottish football. Look at this, finishing with great aplomb.
That 1-0 victory over title rivals Rangers put Aberdeen temporarily at the top of the league, and Hillhouse admitted to preparing for that game by watching a tape of Aberdeen's League Cup victory over the Jers, and claimed to have spotted some defensive weaknesses that he exploited. With 3 goals in his first 2 games, it was clear that Aberdeen had a real gem of a player on their hands, and it wasn't just the fans that were galvanised by his arrival. Charlie Nicholas had failed to score a single goal in all competitions that season, well over 10 games, but the addition of Hillhouse woke him up and reminded him where the goal was. The pair had an instant connection and would form one of the best strike partnerships Aberdeen had ever had.
Me and Hans have formed a good partnership. We're happy with each other's form.
Breaks through to Hillhouse. Here's Nicholas. Chance for Aberdeen. Good turn by Nicholas. A fine effort.
Charlie was a very experienced player. I was an experienced player. We were just more like having fun together.
Hillhouse. Nicholas.
Under pressure. Chance for Nicholas. Chance for Hillhouse. Nicholas. Hillhouse getting round the outside. Aberdeen again coming forward. Hillhouse. Nicholas in the middle. And the flick. Nicholas. Great ball through. Hillhouse.
That was for Charlie the same thing. He can do his own thing and now feed from there.
Hillhouse has gone wide as Nicholas to Nicholas. A beautiful ball by Nicholas. Hillhouse. There's an open one. There's McKimmie. Oh, he's given Celtic time to reorganise. Here's Hillhouse.
Picked up goal by Nicholas. Here's Hillhouse. Good running by Hillhouse. Followed by Goff. Inside is Nicholas.
Of course, quite uncharacteristic. Superb play by Nicholas. Now Hillhouse. Betts going through the middle. One of these runs of his. Great run by Betts. Oh, just past. Hillhouse just getting in there. There's a lovely dab. Nicholas.
This time the Nicholas reverse pass and Hillhouse racing in on goal.
Straight away from the first game, We had a partnership, but after that it just kept on going, and it's still going very well. We have a sort of blinding understanding. I know what he's doing, and he knows what I'm doing.
So despite their opposing characters, Hillhouse being more introverted than the outgoing Nicholas, the two forwards clicked straight away, and this immediate understanding helped Hillhouse feel at home on the pitch with his new teammates from the first minute. In terms of settling into a new country, city and culture, Hillhouse had another colleague to thank for the smooth off-field transition. Alex McLeish went out of his way to make Hillhouse feel welcome, opening the door to his home and frequently inviting the Dutchman round for meals with his family.
Alex was Alex. He was our leader. He was our main guy.
Despite all the on and off-field harmony amongst the Dons, they were unable to improve their standing in the league and again finished second behind Rangers, who won their second league title on the bounce. Injuries to Theo Snelders and Willie Miller had coincided with a poor run of results in the middle of the campaign. The Scottish Cup, however, was a different story. Hans Hillhouse scored in every round but one as Aberdeen swept aside the competition on the way to the final. In the quarter-final against an in-form Hearts side, Hillhouse served up a scintillating performance which saw him not only find the back of the net but torment the Jambos defence with his pace, trickery and creativity.
Stuart McKimmie chips it up. There's the head of Nicholas. There's Hillhouse. Hillhouse scores! There's Hans Hillhouse past Walter Kidd. Touches it to Nicholas. What a chance for Charlie Nicholas. He doesn't miss those ones.
In the semis, Hillhouse put the cherry on top of a 4-0 dismantling of Dundee United with a sublime goal that perfectly highlighted his silky skills.
Chases on for Hillhouse. Checking inside. Kubogovic, great play by Hillhouse. A magnificent goal by the Dutchman.
Football in Scotland has changed a lot since 1990, something proved by the fact that Celtic, who were coming off the back of a desperately disappointing league campaign which saw them finish 5th, went into the final as underdogs, tipped by everyone to be put to the sword by strong favourites Aberdeen, with many putting their money on Hillhouse being the man to sway the match in the favour of the Dons.
Since the Mo Johnston affair, it's been an embarrassment to be a Celtic supporter all over Scotland. Everybody's slagging you, oh you support Celtic, you're going to put a balaclava over your head.
Still sticking with the Dons? I mean, I'm just going by form, by logic, and I know it's difficult, but as I said earlier, backing against either of the old firm, but I'm going for Aberdeen today.
Hillhouse is a good player. He's a right good player. You know, I think he's the best player I've had here since the days of Zoltan Varga.
If you are being booked like favourites like us, then I think you just have to play like favourites and show the crowd and show yourself that you're the best team.
Hillhouse tried his best to make a nuisance of himself, but came up against a Paul Elliott in imperious form. The Celtic defender stuck to Hillhouse all game and left his mark on the Dutchman, kicking 7 shades of shit out of him in the process.
Bonner's in trouble, there's Nicholas! Cleared off the line by Elliott! It's a long ball looking for Hillhouse. He's in behind Elliott. Nicholas waits. Fine tackle by Elliott. Walker. There's Hillhouse. High challenge there by Paul Elliott. They're moving inside from the Aberdeen attack. There's Hillhouse. Frustration for the Dutchman. Played forward by Connor. Hillhouse taken out of the play late by Paul Elliott. Well, Hans Hillhouse to some extent there, perhaps a victim of his own electric pace. Hillhouse caught there by Peter Grant.
Typical continental jock. You just have to touch him when he goes down.
Hillhouse screening the ball from Elliott. The skill of Hillhouse that almost made this foul inevitable. It was Hans Hillhouse, one of those delightful turns we've seen so often this season. Well, Mason has a great first-time ball into space for Nicholas. Aberdeen now trying to get players into the box. One of them is Hillhouse! A superb move from Aberdeen, and Hans Hillhouse hits the side netting with a glorious header. There's a good pass from Mason. Inside it goes to Hillhouse, trying to turn away from Elliott, looking for a penalty kick as the referee denies it. Pass it goes to Hillhouse. Can he take on Elliott this time? Hasn't had much change out of the Celtic centre half so far.
Despite Aberdeen's dominance, the final went to penalties. Even though Hillhouse had missed a pen against Celtic in the league earlier in the season,
But here's Hillhouse against Bonner. Hillhouse is on his knees, having had such a wonderful start to his career at Aberdeen. For the moment, wishes the crowd would open up and swallow him.
he stepped up to take his side's 3rd spot kick.
So a tense moment for Hillhouse.
You want to win finals. You don't play for money. You don't play for. You want to play fun, and you play for trophies. And that's and at that moment, you have a big trophy again. And it was my third in a row, because the last two before that I won in Holland as well. So winning 3 in a row, that's an amazing feeling.
With 11 goals on his record and a Scottish Cup winners' medal round his neck, Hillhouse's first season at Aberdeen was a roaring success. Quite rightly, his exploits at club level were rewarded by his country, and he was on the plane with the Clockwork Orange for Italia 90. As the current champions of Europe, the Netherlands were strong favourites for the World Cup. They were, however, very disappointing. They drew every game of a group made up of Ireland, England and Egypt. Hillhouse was an unused sub for the first match, but played every minute against England and Ireland, out on the left wing. He was dropped to the bench for the last 16 showdown against Germany, only appearing for the final quarter of an hour. It is a match which will be forever remembered for Frank Rijkaard's disgusting grogging incident with Rudi Voller. Germany won 2-1 and the Netherlands were dumped out earlier than anyone would have predicted. On Hillhouse's return to Aberdeen, one important thing had changed. It was already known that Charlie Nicholas intended to return to Celtic before he played against them in the Scottish Cup final. And in the summer, he did indeed make the move back to Glasgow, meaning the fruitful and flourishing partnership with Hillhouse was sadly and prematurely broken up.
I enjoyed the time we had, but Celtic was always his club, his thing. So we had a good relationship. We had dinners from time to time, but I wouldn't persuade him to stay. It's his decision.
Although it seemed that Hillhouse would now have to step up and bear the burden of being Aberdeen's goalscorer-in-chief, it didn't work out that way. Ian Jess had broken into the first team the previous season at the age of 18, catching the eye in the League Cup final victory over Rangers and scoring 3 goals in 16 appearances. In the 1991 season, Hillhouse would take the precocious youngster under his wing, and Jess would enjoy a breakout campaign, and the deadly duo would share 30 goals equally between them.
Jess was more the natural talent.
Good turn by Jess. Trying to link there with Hillhouse. Here's Ian Jess. A long ball from Robertson, teed up there by Hillhouse for Jess. Here's Hillhouse. Good change of pace coming inside. Jess again has found space.
Jess and Hillhouse are adaptable up there. They can drop off and be extra midfield players if necessary. But in the main, when they play, they can interchange and they're quite comfortable right across the face of the park.
Good post cross, dummied there by Hillhouse. Chance again for Aberdeen. And there's the equaliser. Turned in brilliantly by Jess. Fine play from Ian Jess. What an outstanding young striker he is. Good running also from Hillhouse. Back to Jess. This would be a fine goal for Aberdeen. That was brilliant.
Once we started playing, it goes very naturally on the pitch, and it either clicks or it doesn't, and you can't really work on that. It's just very natural start.
Despite Hillhouse and Jess tearing it up and Aberdeen playing some of the most attractive football in the country, their attempts to improve upon the previous season's wonderful cup double met with failure at every turn. They were eliminated from the Scottish Cup in the third round, beaten by Rangers in the semis of the League Cup, and their foray into Europe in the Cup Winners' Cup came to an abrupt and premature end after only 4 games. Things were also going poorly in the league as the Dons struggled for consistency while Rangers were flying and 7 points ahead by February. However, when manager Graham Souness left for Liverpool in April, Rangers began to stutter. Aberdeen, meanwhile, put together a 12-game unbeaten run to go into the final game of the season ahead of Rangers on goal difference. Hillhouse had been key to reigniting the faltering title challenge. Dramatic late winners against Rangers and Dundee United and a hat-trick against Hibs kept their hopes of winning the league alive.
David Robertson plays it in. There's Hillhouse! Aberdeen on the head! Well, the atmosphere inside Pittodrie has been transformed by that goal from Hillhouse. The Rangers supporters were celebrating the championship, and now it's the Aberdeen fans who realise that they're back in the league race. Van der Ark helps it on. Van der Hoorn content to let it run, and a bit of a misunderstanding. There's Hillhouse! And Aberdeen go in front. It's a disaster for the United defence. Aberdeen have won 2 vital points. It was a goal scored by Hillhouse 9 minutes from the end. which has given them victory and put the pressure on at the top of the league.
In keeping with what had been a dramatic and enthralling campaign, the 90-91 league season would be settled by a last-day showdown between the top two of Rangers and Aberdeen at Ibrox. A draw would have been enough to see the Dons crowned champions.
He's in there, and this breaks away. Here's Van de Ven with a great chance, and he's fluffed it. This is right, and Heelhouse. Oh, again, Aberdeen with a real chance to steal something. Hardly expect that. Here's Walters with the cross, and Haitley has scored a priceless goal from Mark Haitley, and Glasgow Rangers are on fire here. Left touchline finds Boo. Boo, that's a bad ball though. Bad ball indeed. Here's Mo Johnston. Watt's got it though. No, he hasn't. Haitley has, and Rangers are 2-0 up. There again. Must say I'm impressed with this left back. Good ball from him. Low towards Heelhouse on the turn. Aberdeen's manager Alex Smith came here saying that his side were playing the best football in the country, but it isn't enough to win them the championship. Glasgow Rangers win the decider. They win the championship. They take their third title in a row. Dons came here needing just a point on the final day, but Rangers denied them, and the hero is Mark Haitley.
Only needed a draw, and I think we were too much focused on not losing instead of going out as we did all the games before and just trying to win it. I think that's our mindset. Just messed it up, I think.
Aberdeen's failure to avoid defeat to Rangers on the final day of the season had denied them what would have been an iconic title victory. However, many fans point to a match much earlier in the season as being the real turning point. On matchday 6, when an unbeaten Aberdeen travelled to McDermott Park to face a newly promoted St Johnstone side, it was assumed the Dons would walk away comfortable winners. However, when the whistle blew at the end of the 90 minutes, the shell-shocked men in red found themselves on the wrong end of a 5-0 hammering. The wheels fell off Aberdeen's season for some time after that, allowing Rangers to pull ahead. Now there's a rumour about a bust-up on the Aberdeen team bus on the way to St Johnstone involving Hillhouse, which allegedly led to the shock result, but it's too mental to talk about on my YouTube channel. If you want to hear the full story, it's exclusively on my Patreon. After the crushing disappointment of his second season, Hillhouse's third wasn't much better. Over the summer, Hillhouse was heavily linked with a move away, with Borussia Dortmund, PSG, Sevilla and his old club PSV all credited with an interest. Although he was keen to move back to the continent, no concrete bid came, so the homesick Hillhouse stayed in Aberdeen. He was blighted by injury, and first Jockey Scott and then Alex Smith left the club. Hillhouse apparently did not see eye to eye with their replacement. The new gaffer Willie Miller dropped the unsettled Hillhouse from the team. Because of these issues, he ended the year with only 5 goals in all competitions, and Aberdeen could only muster a 6th place finish. Unfortunately, Hillhouse's time with Aberdeen would end on a very sour note. Hillhouse had reached the end of his contract, and tired of the physical nature of the game in Scotland, he trained in the Netherlands with PSV, refusing to sign a new contract as he awaited a move away. And he was hardly short of suitors. Chelsea, Ipswich and IFK Gothenburg were all chasing his signature. He even played a reserve match for Aston Villa so that manager Ron Atkinson could get a closer look at him. Hillhouse scored a brace, but Big Ron still wasn't convinced, due to the Dutchman's poor third season with the Dons, and offered Hillhouse the opportunity to prove himself with the senior team on a month-long trial. Hillhouse refused, saying he had nothing left to prove to anybody, and either Villa make the deal permanent or forget it. They chose the second option. As this was several years before the Bosman ruling, although Hillhouse was out of contract with Aberdeen, the Scottish club still owned the rights to his registration and were demanding top dollar for it. It was reported that Hillhouse turned down offers from Ipswich, West Ham and Sunderland, preferring to return to his homeland. I am not interested in moving to English football. My style is better suited to the continental game, he said. Aberdeen's £500,000 valuation of the player allegedly scared off a German club from making a move. Feyenoord were also unable to afford the asking price. Hillhouse stood firm on his desire to leave Scotland and rejected an offer from from Rangers. Aberdeen were apparently unable to drop their asking price for Hillhouse to below £400,000, based on UEFA regulations which took into account a player's age, experience and salary. Hillhouse even took his battle against what he deemed an unfair transfer system to the courts. Although he was playing trial matches for PSV to keep fit, he was essentially unemployed and did not pick up a paycheck for months and months. Hillhouse was even framed as being the problem in the situation, with the press branding him as greedy when he failed to agree personal terms with FC Twente. Say what you want about the Bosman ruling wrecking football, but the fact that it put a stop to players enduring horrible situations like this one is surely only a good thing.
And my last 6 months or so was not good. Not for the club and not for me either. I think we were all losing.
Hillhouse's excruciating exile was finally put to an end after 11 infuriating months when he signed for Vitesse for £300,000 in March 1993. After regaining his fitness, Hillhouse's first full season in Arnhem was a roaring success as he went back to his deadly best, bagging 22 Eredivisie goals in 32 appearances, helping them to finish 4th and qualify for the UEFA Cup. Hillhouse then spent a couple of years with Gamba Osaka in Japan and then with some other clubs before ending his career with his first team, Den Bosch, helping them to win the 2nd division. When we talk about the most skillful and talented imports to ever grace Scottish shores, we usually only mention Laudrup, Gascoigne and Henrik Larsson. However, Hans Hillhouse definitely deserves to be included on that list. Blessed with electric pace, his close control of the ball at high speeds was mesmerising. He was fantastic in the air, and his ability to leap like a salmon, coupled with his strength, was a real asset for Aberdeen, either through headed goals or from knockdowns and layoffs to his teammates. He was an exceptionally hard worker and never shirked from his defensive duties. A tough cookie, he was ready-made for the brutal battlegrounds of Scottish football, more than willing to get stuck in with a meaty challenge, and happy to get up, dust himself down and quickly get on with it whenever he got hacked to bits, which was often. He did come in for some criticism sometimes for blowing hot and cold, drifting in and out of form and lacking a bit of consistency. Although not the most prolific, the sheer quality of his all-round play in Aberdeen's forward line made him worth his weight in gold. While the ugly way the relationship between the club and the player came to an end was far from ideal, Hillhouse still has fond feelings and memories for the club and his time in Aberdeen, and he remains a cult figure amongst the fans. I'd like now to say thanks to my Patreon members. Their names are on screen now. Cheers guys, you're all legends. Patreon is the best way to support me as a creator, and for $5 a month, not only will you get to watch the new videos ad-free and 48 hours before they go on YouTube, but I will also be posting exclusive content there regularly.